We're going live, sweetie. It's 8 o'clock at night. Hi there. It is Sunday, September 14th. I'm T. Waldron, and I'm calling my cat Pumpkin, but she's kind of just waking up from a nap. She'll join us, I'm sure, later. But I hope you're having a great day or evening, wherever you are. We have been talking all week about change, and I want to take a little break from that because I like to update you folks on things that are on my mind in real time. And it's been a really rough week here in the U.S. We had a political shooting, okay, that was, our country was polarized before, and now it's like so polarized. And I have to confess, I want to tell, I'm trying to share my journey with, being my best self and living in love rather than fear and all of that, and it's all true. But when this happens, a thought came to my mind that I am ashamed of, but I want to share it with you because it's the truth. And I think maybe I'm not alone, okay? When I heard this happened, and I didn't really know much about it at first. I didn't know who this person was. I wasn't familiar with Charlie Kirk, and I'm so sorry. Number one, his like anyone getting shot and killed is a tragedy, and this is a terrible loss. But then I learned that he was a political person, and different things. And what came into my mind was, oh, I wonder if this was a setup to make the liberals look bad. Like that popped in my head. I'm just going to be honest with you, and that is appalling. I'm embarrassed that I thought that, but I also feel like you should know, because I also thought the same thing when our president, Donald Trump, was shot a while ago. And it's like, why would I even think this? Why would I even think this? And I think it's, and I'm working to actively change that, okay? And I'm working to notice, like, why would I think that, and why is that? Of course, it's a sad, terrible loss of life, and I'm not, I feel terrible for his family, and it's a loss on many levels. But I'm trying to be an enlightened person and being my best self on all levels, and the fact that I would think about political things upon finding this out is really upsetting to me, and I don't think I'm alone. Hey Demille, welcome. So I looked up an article here on how does propaganda work, because I feel as though we're all being manipulated, whether you're here in the US or if you are somewhere else in the world. We have to just be mindful of the content we're consuming and the motives of the people who are producing it. Hi Liam, welcome. So this is a heavy one tonight, but I think it's going to be, good, and I'd like a discussion. What do you think? Hey there, Kevin. Nice to see ya. So I read this article from Very Well Mind. So this is from a non-political source, but it's a psychological page called Very Well Minds. It's written by Arlen Kunzik. She's a master's degree, and it was reviewed by Daniel B. Block, a doctor. And this was written November 29, 2023. And the title of the article is How Does Propaganda Work? And I just want us to think about this, and think about where we're getting our information and how it affects us. I'm sorry, Fractal, I didn't welcome you up here. So what is propaganda? It's sharing biased or misleading info to promote a particular agenda or point of view, to influence people's opinions, to control people's behavior, to convince people to support a specific cause or a political candidate. Okay, so that's kind of just the framework of propaganda. Now, it's commonly used in several areas. Mass media. One of the most effective pieces of mass media was in 1935 pushed by the Nazis called Triumph of Will. That was a movie that they put out. It's also used in advertising. A lot of times in advertising, they'll use fear tactics. Like if you don't use this, something bad will happen. Or bandwagoning. You know, everybody else is doing it. You don't want to miss out. Hey, welcome from Puerto Rico, Jesse. And so it's also used in war. Misinformation and name calling, and maybe portraying the enemy as less than. It's also used in politics for emotional appeals, name calling, and scare tactics. So the effects of propaganda are through presenting the partial truths. Hi Chris, welcome. Hi Trait the DM. Welcome. I'm not sure what it's in your comments in Cyrillic, Trait the DM. I'd love to know what you're asking. But the effects of propaganda are spreading hatred and bigotry, inciting violence possibly, and undermining democracy. Hi there, ABH. Welcome. So you know, we owe it to ourselves to figure out what's happening. Is the information we're getting the truth, or is it propaganda? And I feel as though the fact that I would think that, I think I've absorbed some stuff inadvertently that has really, made me think things a little differently than I would like to. And I'd like to know where, to identify information that's good. Yeah, my name is Teresa. I'm T. Waldron. I'm here from the East Coast of the U.S. and I'm normally joined by my cat Pumpkin. Pumpkin, you want to come up here? She's sitting nearby. And Motherland, no propaganda. Well, where is that? I would love to know where there's no propaganda. And here, all right, so then here's the techniques. They listed off different techniques, so then maybe if you see this, you can recognize it, okay? So the first one they said was name calling. Derogatory terms to describe your opponent. Okay, we've all heard that. We've also probably seen that in the schoolyard, By the way, cheers to you. Another way of using propaganda is appealing to our emotions, inciting fear or creating anger. And that's a big one here on our news. A lot of times if you're watching, there's very different news stations, and I think they all pretty much want to, they're selling a product. The news is a product, and to keep us watching the news and tuning back in, they're having our emotions come up, right? Does that make sense? Only Russian truth. Oh, okay. So yeah, so the news often appeals to our emotions, or information, appeals to our emotions. It incites fear or creates anger. They also use what's called bandwagoning, using peer pressure to encourage people to conform, such as, well, everybody believes this, or everybody's doing this. Yeah. They also use scare tactics, scaring people to conform. If we don't do this, the country will be taken over, or whatever. Something terrifying is going to happen. Manipulating information, distorting or misrepresenting facts to influence people's opinions. So that's manipulating information. Using false stats. And that would be using false or misleading statistics. So maybe only showing part of the information, or making the numbers up. Yeah, I'm not sure what you're saying, Treat the DM. It's in Cyrillic. Also making unrealistic promises, things that are not possible. If you elect me, there will be no taxes. That's not possible. Or I will eradicate poverty. Not possible. Using symbols to represent an idea or concept. That's a common one to kind of galvanize your followers, right? Another one is slogans, short and catchy phrases to summarize an idea or concept. And I'm sure if you kind of think in recent history and past history, you can think of examples. The speaking enchantment table. Oh, okay. Okay. I'm not sure. Also, they might use plain folks, using everyday average people to endorse a product or candidate, and just saying, oh, this is what everyone's doing. Testimonials, endorsements from respected or famous people. So these are all different ways of people, the way propaganda is used. Using transfer, so positive associations to make an object or person seem more favorable. And then there's another one called card stacking, only presenting info that's favorable about the person or thing being promoted. There's glittering generalities, words or phrases with positive connotations, but they don't really mean anything. Like saying a candidate is for change, but not specifying the type of change that they are talking about. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And you're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome to stay. I hope you're saying good things in Russian. Okay. And by the way, speaking of kicking people out and keeping the chat going well, thank you so much to Imran Hossain. He is our YouTube SEO specialist, and he's our moderator this evening. And he's doing a stellar job, so thank you, Imran. I appreciate that. And I appreciate your comments, Treat That DM. Okay, so there's another way. We talked about the glittering generalities. You're for change, but you're not specifying what type of change you're for. So, oh, I'd like change. Well, what are you going to change? And then there's stereotyping. Oversimplified and often inaccurate ideas or beliefs to describe an opponent. So we're starting to get into some heavy stuff here with the stereotyping. Then there's also snob appeal, using exclusivity to make something seem more desirable. So these are all things we can watch out for, when we're watching the news, even when we're looking at advertisements, to see what they're using to try to convince us to buy something or believe something. And loaded language, using specific language to evoke certain emotions or feelings. And then the last one they mention here is weasel words, designed to mislead or deceive. I'm not saying so-and-so is a bad person, but... And then you're actually saying so-and-so is a bad person. So, so those are just examples of ways that we can be persuaded. Just examples of different types of propaganda. And now, how do we avoid it, right? How do we stop from being influenced without even realizing it? Well, in the article, they go on to say, educate ourselves about these techniques, which we're going over them. And I will put these up in the posts. And I have a bunch of other notes that I have to put in the posts as well. I like to note the source. Is it a specific news station that has a certain angle? Is it a friend who watches a specific news station? Where am I getting this information from? And I try to find a second source that is, I want to say fair and balanced, but, but a simple way, and this is a way I kind of have been trying to look at stuff lately, is, am I getting emotional over this information, and why? So let's go back to this example of the Charlie Kirk assassination this week. Okay, so this man was killed. Am I upset because another human being died? Or am I upset because of the implications? Either because I'm upset of what he stood for, or I'm upset about the other side, or whatever. What am I, how is this affecting me emotionally? And is it something human? Like, am I being human and just saying this human being is dead and I'm really sad that this happens? Or am I saying, well, that's going to be bad for the party, or this is going to be a galvanizing situation and help the party, or whatever. So that's really something I'm trying to look at. And I'm trying to be my best self. I'm meditating every day and trying to do good things and helping people. And, this stuff still creeps in. So it's kind of terrifying. And I'm really aware of it. Like, I try to really be mindful, and it still got to me. So I did watch some info from Chase Hughes. He's really interesting. He talks about the fate model, and that's his own thing. I suggest you watch his video. It's pretty good. And then there's another one. It's really actually very good. He talks about this specific situation. And then there's another one. I forget what her name is, but I could put her on Facebook. She was on Facebook. It came up on my feed, and she's talking about how psyops is being used against us. So we have to know ourselves and educate ourselves. And I still want to operate from love, and I feel like I didn't do that this week fully. And it was really I thought I was further along than this, and it was a wake-up call. It was a wake-up call that I've still got a lot of work to do, and I probably always will, but I hope by sharing this information, I don't know how this affected people, and I'm trying to not have too much of a political situation on my channel, but it's the space that we're living in right now. It's everywhere, and it's changing who we are as humans. And I just want to be more aware of it, and I want to bring awareness to it, that hopefully you can think about this stuff and not let it get to you. What do you think? Is anybody else affected by this, or you tired of hearing about it, or I don't know. It just really it just makes me feel sad for our humanity. We're all people, and I think everybody wants to live their lives, and I think I think this is the point I want to leave you with tonight, is I think we're all doing the best we can with the information we have. And I think we all want to live in peace, and at least here in America, have good values, and hopefully be kind to each other and help each other out and be good neighbors, and love our freedom and love our democracy, and appreciate all the people that work hard every day to keep America going, to keep us safe. And I don't know, I just hope we can somehow put our differences aside and come together. So I don't know. But from myself to yourself, thank you for joining me on this journey. And again, thank you, Imran Hossain, for the wonderful moderating. And from myself to yourself, thank you for joining me on this journey.